what's everyone saying? My name's Leven. I'm here with my match reaction to the Atalanta Manchester United 2-2 draw in Bergamo. Look, it's another game where I leave the game not impressed. I leave the game a bit frustrated, and I'm gonna, try my best to sort of steer myself. My thoughts are all over the place right now. So there's a lot of it's just disappointment, a lot of frustration, a lot of the same old emotions I feel like we're leaving these games with. But we go into this game, of course, there's a lot of questions about the system, how it's going to work. Of course, we're playing 3 centre-backs. We don't have any centre-backs on the bench. If somebody gets injured, what's going to happen? Of course, Varane got injured, and then we had to change to a 4 at the back, typical 4-2-3-1 shape. I felt starting off the game, it's disappointing because, the first couple minutes of the game, I noticed a couple things that I sort of liked. I noticed a couple of things where I went, you know what? That looks like it's been worked on, right? In terms of, deep build-up, right? When notice Bailly was shifting out at the right-back position and Bissaka was moving into midfield. It's something that I see Chelsea do a bunch. Tuchel seems to like that kind of thing. And I'm looking at all these small things, and I'm always grasping at straws, right? Somebody on Twitter called me out for it. He said, Leven, man, I understand you're trying to find something to latch onto to give me faith. And I was trying to find something to latch onto to sort of give me the hope and faith that this is different now. And after about 15, 20 minutes, it was very clear nothing was different. It was very, very clear nothing was different. They get the first goal in typical fashion for us right now. Bailly's drawn out of position. Look, I thought Bailly was great in a lot of this game. I think Bailly very much saved us and he was our best defender. But it's unfortunate Bailly gets dragged out of position. They get a chance. De Gea should do better. De Gea probably having the worst game he's had this season, and it's a shame that I'm leaving saying that because at this stage, I'm not at a point where I want to even focus attention on players, man. Players will have bad games. Players will have good games. And it's unfair. It's unfair for me to go, oh, De Gea had a bad game, even though he sort of did and he should have done better in that chance, because when we're consistently having these games where it just looks like nobody has an idea of what it is they need to do, something's not right. Something's not right. If I took somebody who doesn't know anything about football and I said to them, some of these players on the pitch are some of the best footballers in the world, they wouldn't believe me. I would not be able to convince them that some of those players on the pitch are some of the best footballers in the world, right? And it's not because those players are bad, but they're playing in a team where, they don't look like they have any idea of how to actually score goals or win the game. Very, very, very frustrating. All sort of happiness. I need to find a timeline, man. Look, Ronaldo obviously scores. Let's address that. Ronaldo is the savior. He really is keeping Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in a job. It's mad because, for all the conversation about, the negatives behind Ronaldo or whatever, and I know people, there are people who still feel aware about the Ronaldo signing, etc., etc. Regardless of how you feel about it, he is saving us. And I think some of the arguments some people were making, there was some merit to it, but it was never about being Ronaldo's fault, right? It was never about it's Ronaldo's fault. You can't say that, right? Because he's done his job. At the end of the day, we brought in Ronaldo to score goals, and he's done his job. He's done his job in moments where, we've been awful, right? And he did it again today. Got to go out of nothing, right? That second goal was out of nothing. Now let me rewind. Now that I've addressed that, let me rewind. Big up to Ronaldo, man. One of the greatest. Portuguese Jesus, I called him on Twitter. It's insane. I do remember now what happened. So we get a goal right before halftime in a half where we were really stinky, but it was a brilliant goal. And it's really frustrating because it's actually a goal that sort of signified what we should have been doing more of, right? A brilliantly executed goal where it's probably one of our best goals of the season. You look at Atalanta's team, and they're a team that obviously plays with a 5-back, but Merih Demiral, the middle centre-back, he's very aggressive, and you can bait him out of position. And when you bait him out of position, you've got to be very quick to now exploit the space that he leaves open between the centre-backs. And we did that really well. Bruno draws him out of position. Greenwood plays a perfectly timed, but it was a brilliant pass from Greenwood. Honestly, an absolutely excellent pass from Greenwood. We've seen a couple moments over the past year where Greenwood will make a great pass. Brilliant pass into Bruno, who slips behind Demiral. Then Bruno with a magnificent back heel. Ronaldo picks it up. Ronaldo's movement as well. All three of those guys were excellent in that movement, in that passage of play. All excellent. Ronaldo with the movement to get him behind. and then slots it into the goal. And it's 1-1 going into the half, and you sort of look at it going, nice, we're still in this game. It's been a terrible half, but we're still in this game. Come out the second half awful. I genuinely don't think I've seen a half of football that bad from our team in ages. For me, it just felt awful. You just have a bunch of players on the pitch who don't have a clue what they're doing. In defence, we were playing with 8 men. We were playing with 8 men in defence in that game. You had the back four, Pogba and McTominay as a pivot, provided no protection for the back four. They didn't provide protection. If anything, there were times when they were giving, the ball to players like Ilicic in between the lines, etc. Offered no protection. They might as well just not have been there. And of course, people will go Ronaldo, and out of possession, Ronaldo's not going to be useful. But even in possession was where it was worse for me. In possession, I've never seen something so uninteresting. Players all over the pitch just didn't look interested. They didn't look like they had an idea of how to get the ball from defence to attack. Because the goal we scored in the first half very much showed how we need to try to score goals. And any of the other sort of half chances we had in the game came through similar sorts of patterns of play, where you look to exploit the space either in between the 2 centre-backs because Demiral's out of position, or in between the wing-backs and the outside centre-back. Pardon me. But we just didn't do it enough. And we didn't do it enough a lot of the time because we just couldn't get the ball into our attackers' feet. And it's one of these things where how do you continue to sort of go game by game by game where players who are world-class players, who are elite footballers, don't seem to have an idea of how to win a game of football, right? Like, I'm sure you go to these players and you say to them, explain to me how you guys are going to look to score. Like, how are you guys trying to get the ball? Not even, in fact, forget scoring. How are you guys getting the ball to the attackers? It doesn't seem like people have a clue of how to do that. And I think with certain managers, you look at maybe certain teams and certain situations where you sort of go, okay, this will improve, right? Maybe, okay, they're going to, eventually things will get better. But once again, a broken record. These are problems we've been having for too long now, way too long. So it's disappointing. It's disappointing. There was a moment in the second half where I'm watching McKenna on the touchline. And he is literally like directing Wan-Bissaka and Greenwood on the right. And there's a moment where he shouts to Wan-Bissaka to go back, right? He's like, back. And Wan-Bissaka sort of looks around, didn't know. Like, he just, and it's one of those things where, yeah, of course you get coaches directing players. You see top coaches doing it all the time, but it was just sort of the way, Greenwood and Wan-Bissaka almost look confused. Like, they almost like, what should I do? Because I don't know myself. Like, it was astonishing. It was genuinely astonishing. Something needs to change, and I think we all know what that is. We all know what needs to change. We need improvement. And I always try my best to be reasonable. I try my best to find the positives in things. I try my best to help people to understand. Because, sometimes some people don't understand minute aspects of the game that maybe are undervalued. But there's nothing I can say to you guys. If you're looking for me to be a point of explanation or reasoning as to why these things are going, there's nothing I can say. I don't know, and I'm tired of it. There's nothing I can say that, brings reason to some of the performances we're seeing. Their second goal, Atalanta's second goal, was very much similar thing. Just fall asleep, players out of position. Maguire's too slow to deal with pressure. De Gea doesn't come out of his goal. That's just not the kind of keeper he is. Great shot stopper, but he doesn't have that sort of sweeper keeper in him that top goalkeepers nowadays do have. Yeah, look, props to Ronaldo, props to Bailly, because as much as Bailly was involved in both of the goals they scored, if it wasn't for Bailly, we would have conceded a lot more goals. Props to Bailly, props to Ronaldo. It took so long for Jadon Sancho and Donny van der Beek to get on the pitch. And as soon as they did for the last 5 minutes of the bloody game, we actually looked decent. We actually did look somewhat decent in the last sort of 5-10 minutes of the game. Who would have thought you bring on players who know how to exploit space and we will start to exploit space? Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Guys, I'm frustrated. And it's going to take me a couple of days to really sort of think about this. I'm going to have to watch that game over and over. But in fact, no, I'm not actually. I'm not going to watch that game over. There's nothing that I'm going to rewatch that makes me think differently about that game. There's nothing. There is nothing. Look, I'm going to have to, I don't know, I'll go watch some teams that play good football. Maybe I can use that. So that's what I did a couple of weeks ago. I watched Ajax play Dortmund, and it was some of the best football I've ever watched. It felt like cleansing of the soul. So I'd advise any of you do that if you're struggling. On to the Manchester derby this weekend. We're getting pummeled. We're getting pummeled. We you know, in transition, fair enough. Maybe we are still a dangerous team. We are still an elite team in transition. But in any sort of possession phase, we are useless as a team. We are absolutely useless, and Man City will exploit us. Hopefully Varane and whoever and Lindelof are able to be back for that game, because I want to see those two starting at the back. Bailly as well. If Bailly can play, Bailly as well should play, because I think he was great, but you know, he needs to switch on at times. But I think that's with Bailly, it's risk and reward with Bailly, and you know that, so you gotta have to be ready for that. Yeah, disappointing stuff, man. Disappointing stuff, and I hate to be a downer. I hate to, you know, I know some people want energy and they want excitement. You know, you watch the United stand because you want, you know, something exciting. I can't give you that, guys, and I'm not gonna fake that. Never gonna fake that. So, hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you thought of the game in the comment section down below. You know, things need to change. Things need to improve. We can't keep going on like this. Have a good night, guys.